Can you beat the Cayo Perico heist with fists only? Well, in this video, I will try to beat the entirety of the Cayo Perico heist with my bare fists only. I will attempt to beat the preps, setups, and the heist finale in this challenge with these rules. 1. Fists are the only weapon I can use to fire. 2. I can use firearms to aim, but I cannot fire them. 3. I can use any vehicles, but cannot use the weapons of combat vehicles. And 4. I cannot use any throwables. With all of these rules in mind, let me explain the main combat tech that I will be using in order to tackle this challenge. In GTA 5 and online, while having no weapons equipped, if you press the aim button, which is the right mouse button on PC, you can lock onto a player or an NPC. Then pressing the left mouse button will make you punch the target. You might be wondering, why should we do this when we can run up to someone and punch them straight ahead? The problem with that is, in missions, you have tougher NPCs who will take around 10 punches to be killed, which takes very long, breaks stealth, and ruins everything. Instead, what you want to do is to execute your enemies as fast as possible. There are mainly two ways you can achieve this, either by walking behind someone while in stealth and then pressing R on your keyboard to do a stealth elimination, or the second way is to approach someone and press the left mouse button to kill them straight away. What people don't know is this is still very silent like the first method. However, it is very inconsistent to execute someone from the front, as your character will almost always go for a straight punch instead of execution, which is exactly why you need to know about the lock-on feature, as it turns out that if you run fast towards an NPC and then lock on to them and then stop moving forward and press the fire key or left mouse button in my case, you can actually consistently perform an execution. This will be the driving force in order to beat this challenge, as otherwise any other method not only takes too long to kill someone, they're also going to break the stealth. Let's start off with scoping the island. The only challenge you will face during this mission is when you reach near the plane. There are a total of 5 NPCs that will spawn here. You have to kill all these NPCs first in order to fly safely and not take enough damage. The first idea that comes to my mind is to steal this truck and running over enemies. As this is a mission, enemies will be much stronger, which means I simply cannot ram them. What I will have to do is to drive over an enemy and make sure the body stays under the wheel. The force of the vehicle will melt NPCs and you as well. There are a total of 5 enemies here, and the advantage I have because of this truck is its height, which makes the NPCs have a really hard time to attack you. Other than that, all I have to do is to drive up to the NPCs and then keep my wheel on top of their bodies to kill them efficiently. Once they are all killed, I go to Cayo Perico and scope out the secondary targets, which isn't necessary, but I thought why not make some extra cash as well if I'm going to complete this challenge. It seems like we're very lucky, as I got the pink diamond as my primary target. After that, I simply make my way back to Los Santos. Now that we are over the scoping, there are a total of 5 missions we have to complete pre-heist. For the vehicle, I'm going to go with the Longfin, as it's one of the more easier vehicles to steal and very useful for the heist as well. The very first thing to do is to fly to the police station with my Sparrow and get close to the Longfin so that it triggers the conversation of Pavel telling me where to find the cabs. Once the cabs are revealed, I simply make my way there and of course execute the only guard standing in my way. If the other NPCs are coming after you, all you have to do is to equip any firearms in your hand that will scare them straight away. Now get the cab to the police station, and my strategy here is to get in and out. But of course, they will be dealing a lot of damage, so all I have to do is to spam every snacks that I have till I get out of the police station with the Longfin. You do need a bit of precision to pull this off easily on mouse and keyboard, as when you have the interaction menu open, you can only move the camera when your mouse cursor is on the edge of the direction you want the camera to move towards. Whereas on controller, you can use the right stick normally to move the camera. Once out, I simply die in order to instantly lose the cops and take the Longfin back to the garage. Now that we have the vehicle completely done, we need to steal 3 equipment. Of course, this time we have to go for the plasma cutter and the cutting torch. First is the plasma cutter. For the first half of this mission, there are no enemies to deal with, so I will skip over that. But once the location of the robbery is revealed, I have to get the cutter and get out. out. Sounds simple, but only problem is it's guarded by a ton of enemies. But it's not too bad because in this mission, you can actually pick the cutter up from your vehicle. So if I could simply drive in and out of the place, then fly away to the Kasatka without dying, then that's all I need to do. I didn't realize this at first and really kept on thinking how to get the cutter until I decided that instead of trying something really cheeky or clever, let's just drive in a regular NPC car and see if I can get that thing out of there. And here are the results. I got insanely lucky. I was surrounded by 5 enemies all shooting at me once with assault shotguns and carbine rifles. But somehow these aimbot enemies seems to miss you if you are in a car and very close to them. This is the moment when I discovered that you can actually grab the cutter while inside of a vehicle as well. This one change came in clutch and made it possible to somehow snatch the cutter from these enemies. Once I got out, I spent no time getting to my Sparrow and then flying away to the Kasatka. Fingerprint Cloner is another challenge which is actually much easier than it sounds. In the first half, you have to go to a warehouse to find the location of the cloner. Once you make your way here, a bunch of enemies will spawn and they will all have firearms. The first thing to do when you get inside is to immediately take cover behind this fragile crate. After that, there are a total of 4 enemies to deal with. The best strategy that I found is to wait for them to get to a bad location, as they are programmed to change their position once they cannot get a shot on you. I waited till I got the best placement of the enemies, and my idea was to simply wait for them to reload and go for an immediate melee execution. After waiting for quite a while, I saw the opportunity and killed the first enemy and immediately ran back to cover. You can actually do this room without dying if you spam snacks while executing enemies, but I didn't bother with that. Once the last 3 enemies went back, I changed my camera to first person, as it allows you to have more precise controls over your character, and changed my cover to the front crate. Again, I do the same thing here, which is waiting for the enemy to reload and then go for the execution. Unfortunately, it took me out as I didn't spam snacks, but then again, it's a shotgun, so it wasn't gonna be very effective anyway. Once I spawn back and get in the room, I wait for them to change position, and while the shotgunner was doing that, he bumped into the bike on his left, which gave me an ample amount of time to quickly move in for an execution. And then I quickly rushed to get the last guy as well. That was honestly much easier than I thought it would have. But after that, you simply play this mission out normally until you reach the archive. Here are 2 cameras that you should destroy if you want to do this mission stealth. But if you squeeze from the right side like I am, you can actually get in and out of the hallway without destroying the cameras and thus sticking to the challenge. Once I got inside, I grabbed the cloner, and now when it's time to exit, I jumped and escaped from the same side I used to get in. Another setup complete. Next up is the cutting torch, as we will do this heist stealth. The only way to mess this mission up is by breaking your stealth. So I flew to the construction site where the cutter is, wore this yellow hat, found the blue cutter, and simply got out of there. If you break stealth, then it's a big challenge to get the cutter and flying to the Kasatka, as enemies do keep spawning after you until you make your escape. So pro tip, just don't break stealth. On to the last setup, which is the weapons mission. I got very lucky and got the building mission for weapons on my first go. If you don't know, there is another mission that has a higher chance to occur, where you have to follow a Merryweather vehicle to their base, and it takes a lot of time to complete and is much more of a challenge. This mission, on the other hand, is just a million times better than that. At first, I take the Sparrow and fly to the top of the building so I don't have to deal with any enemies at the bottom of the building, and to escape easily easily when I'm done. After that, I get inside, and honestly, it's the exact same strategy. Go in for executions when no one is shooting or reloading. I did die here a few times, but ultimately made it without too much of a hassle. So here's how I did it. When I got to the roof, I made sure to escape as soon as possible, and with that, we are pretty much completely done with the setups. It's time to hit Cayo Perico fists only. I will try to do this heist without breaking stealth and going for full bags, but if stealth is broken, I will restart the heist or the checkpoint. I will also start from the main dock and use the Longfin as my choice of vehicles. The first thing to do is to collect the secondary loot at the airstrip first. I got kinda lucky and also unlucky at the same time because I got cash and coke both here as my loot. Cash only takes 25% of your loot bag, which means you have to pick 4 stacks of them to fill your bag up, whereas only 2 batches of coke will fill the bag up. But I got 1 batch of coke, which means I have to pick 2 batches of cash and that batch of coke for full bag. Unfortunately, this mission can be very broken sometimes. As you can see, when I was about to get the coke, a guard saw me from the outside of the hut. The reason this happened is because there is a very tiny crack in the wooden wall of this hut, which means if you get through that crack, you will get caught. But I didn't catch this at first and got caught over 100 times not being able to figure out what exactly got me busted. However, this is what happened to the most successful run I had of the heist. I decided to go for the cash first and take the guy out silently. After I get those, I realized what made me get caught, and I waited for the camera to turn to the other side and for that guy on the balcony to look away. Once I got the chance, I took it and got in. And then I took the coke and was somehow just barely standing outside of his vision cone. I had to wait for him to look away again, and once he did, I was careful enough to not get caught by the camera above and climb over this and make it to the parked Longfin. Now that I finally made it out of the airstrip, which was completely unnecessary by the way, I finally hit the drainage tunnel for the final half of this heist. Once inside the compound through the drainage tunnel, I took my weapon out and climbed on top of this roof by aiming for it. You can also do it without aiming by being in first person, but it's way more accurate this way. After that, there is this guy which I can't kill, so I let him pass. Then I go down and here comes a guard that never looks away. My strategy is to run towards him and go for an execution so fast that stealth does not break. But unfortunately, when he went down and I went upstairs, the guard on the stairway didn't die as the game failed to perform an execution and instead made me go for a punch. If this happens, the mission is automatically a complete failure. This is why I had to restart from the quick checkpoint and miss the elite challenge, which isn't the focus anyway. But I also discovered the fact that once a stealth is broken and you respawn after dying, your speed increases massively. I mean, look at how fast I'm running after I respawned. This has to be some sort of balance change by Rockstar to make this slightly easier on non-stealth approach of this heist. Anyway, on my second try, I decided to take the guy out in third person as it is much more consistent to hit execution this way compared to first person. Luckily, I got the keys to the basement too, which isn't necessary but nice to have. Then I took the money from the safe and made it to the basement. I took out my plasma cutter and got the pink diamond. Now it's time for escape. I went out the same way and this time I didn't break the stealth. After I made it out of the compound, I killed this guard from behind and took his bike. I then drove to the left to stay out of the last guard's vision and properly made my escape from Cayo Perico. So, what did we learn? Can you beat the Cayo Perico heist with fists only in GTA Online? Well, after 162 fails, I can confirm yes, you can beat the entirety of the Cayo Perico heist with your fists only, including the preps, the setups, and of course the heist finale itself. Thank you so much for watching this video, and if you have more challenge in mind, please make sure to let me know in the comments and become a channel member in order to get early access to my videos and support me in my journey. Shout out to D7Man2000 for being a loyal member of this channel. Perfect Enrager signing out.